Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So I want to talk about the Lauri Markkanen extension because it is definitely a very, very interesting situation. I want to start off by saying I don't think the Utah Jazz were ever very serious about trading Lauri Markkanen. There was only maybe 4 teams that were in the running to trade for Lauri Markkanen. It was Oklahoma City, the Golden State Warriors, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Sacramento Kings. And a couple of these teams at times became serious contenders at one point or another. First it was like Oklahoma City was like the first one. Then Sacramento was the next one, and like that fell through because they wouldn't trade Keegan Murray, which was completely understandable. Then there was Golden State, and then Golden State was like, yeah, we're not going to give you Brandon Pajemski. And then San Antonio was kind of the last one, and San Antonio was the team that maybe had the most assets to make it happen as far as the combination of young players, draft picks, and salary filler. The problem is the San Antonio Spurs, I don't think, wanted to give up all their assets in order to acquire a guy at a position that they really didn't need. And also being the idea that Lauri Markkanen is 27, he's going to be going on 28 years old. He's a guy that doesn't really fit their timeline. I think Lauri Markkanen to the Spurs was only going to happen if the Spurs could really get him for the right price. And from the Utah Jazz perspective of this, of the trade talks, I feel like what happened in all of this was they were looking to see what they could get. I don't think they were ever, really serious about trading Lauri Markkanen, but I think they were just like, let's just see. I think once they saw that Mikal Bridges drew in the haul that he did, I feel like Danny Ainge tried to maybe finesse somebody, and it simply didn't work. Lauri Markkanen's a good player, but there are certain things that you have to take into account when you look at Lauri Markkanen. He's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong. Dude is very, very good. But here's the thing. Lauri Markkanen gives me Karl Anthony Towns, DeJounte Murray type of vibes, where he's like a B-tier player getting A-tier touches. That's what I think of Lauri Markkanen. So that's why I feel like his numbers, why he's averaging like 23, 25 points per game. It's because he's a good player putting up numbers on a bad team. And then when you look at how many games he plays every season, this guy more often than not plays about 50 games per season. There's only been a handful of times he's played 65 or more games. I think it's only been 2 or 3 times. But this is another thing that teams look at. They're like, if I'm going to be giving up all of this to get this type of player, I should at least be getting a guy that can play like 60 games consistently. And I'm pretty sure all of this was in those trade talks. But in the end, they didn't end up trading Lauri Markkanen. Instead, they ended up signing him to a 4-year, $239 million contract extension, which in a way I think is advantageous to Utah, but it's not going to be advantageous to the team that I think trades for him. And the reason I say that is because, like I just previously stated, Lauri Markkanen to me is a B-tier player who's getting A-tier touches. And this is a guy that they're now going to be paying, anyway, upwards, I think, $40 million. I don't know what the year-over-year salary is, but I'm just curious. I think it's like $42 million and up. I'm very curious about this. $42 million is the first year. Actually, Fanspo should break it down for me. But the fact of the matter is, like, this is a player that any team, once they take him on, they're going to be paying, they didn't modify. Oh, yeah, they did. This is okay. Wow. Okay. They added his extension onto 20. Okay, so he's getting paid $42 million for this upcoming season. And then he has a veteran extension for $46 million, $46 million, $49 million, then $53 million. It's 7. Okay, so total, his contract works out to like 7 years, $238 million if you include what he got paid in 2021, which is completely fucking wrong. But you get the picture. You know what I'm saying? This is a guy that, if you trade for him, you're going to be paying him about $40+ million a year for a guy that once he gets traded to another team, if he's not the number one option, is maybe only going to give you like 18 to 21 points per game if he's the number two option, depending on how involved you make him. And really, Lauri Markkanen kind of gives me Kristaps Porzingis vibes. Maybe not defensively, but offensively, he's kind of a guy that, he's going to hit a trailing three. He's a decent rebounder. He's for his career, he's an 18-7 guy. Shoots about 45% from the field, 37% from three. Great free throw shooter. So he's great at shooting free throws. But, he's like a 20, over this past season, he was a 23, 8-2 guy, and that's with being the number one option. I hate to say this about Lauri Markkanen, but I kind of feel like his one all-star year that he's had with Utah is probably going to be the peak of his career. I can't believe I'm saying that. I know there's a lot of people going to be like, well, he's a great player. He's a 7-footer, 240 pounds. The dude can shoot a three. He's a great player. I'm not saying he's bad. And don't take this as like a derogatory thing. I'm not trying to put him down. But a lot of the other teams in the league already have an established star. You know what I'm saying? Or like a guy that they consider their franchise guy. There's not many of them that don't. Like for example, Washington's a team that comes to mind that maybe doesn't have a solidified franchise player. Even if you look at Sacramento, Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, it's like, they're kind of the duo. You know what I'm saying? If they don't have their superstar, like they have their duo, and I just can't see Lauri Markkanen going to a lot of other teams where he's just going to get the type of touches that he got with Utah. Even if he goes to like, I don't know, maybe Houston or someplace like that, like there's not a lot of places in the league where it's like he's going to maybe put up 23, 25 points per game and it's going to justify paying him upwards of $40 million a year. So I feel like Danny Ainge signed him to this extension to make him happy in the short term, but in the long term, Danny Ainge is going to try to use Lauri Markkanen to trade him for something else that this team deems more important to their long-term success and leave another team bag holding with his contract. Because I hate to say it, but I feel like that's what Lauri Markkanen is. He's a great player, but I feel like just because he made one all-star team, he got most improved player of the year at one point. I feel like just because he's been good with Utah, I feel like, I don't know, people have look at him with like rose-tinted glasses, and I can't help but shake the feeling of fool's gold with Lauri Markkanen. The team that trades for him better hope he's the number one option. And the sad part is, though, if you're that team that trades for Lauri Markkanen and expects to use him as a number one option, you are probably not a playoff team. So you can see where that would be conflicting. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy that I look at and I just feel like he's not worth what he just got paid. You know what I'm saying? And I understand why Danny Ainge did it. I understand why Utah did it, because when you're one of these small market teams, you basically have to overpay for a guy like this. But I don't know, somebody's going to trade for Lauri Markkanen at some point. But at the same token, I think to myself, if you're an opposing GM, you look at this Lauri Markkanen contract and you go, well, like, I'm going to be honest. If Lauri Markkanen goes into this upcoming season, and because now they can't trade Lauri Markkanen until the upcoming offseason. They can't trade him at the deadline because he signed his contract after August 6th. So he is not eligible to be traded at the trade deadline. It will pass before he becomes eligible. But if you're an opposing GM next offseason and you're looking at this guy, unless he averages like 28 or 30 points a game, I'm probably no longer touching Lauri Markkanen with a 10-foot pole, unless I'm a team like the Knicks, where I have an abundance of draft capital and I'm literally like one piece away. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I feel like Danny Ainge tried to do here. I feel like I feel like Lauri Markkanen trade talks went completely dead until Mikal Bridges got traded. Then once Mikal Bridges got traded, suddenly, trade talks started up again. It seemed like Danny Ainge tried to finesse himself out of league because he was like, oh, well, this is what Mikal Bridges just went for. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what B-tier players are worth now. And I just feel like that didn't work with a lot of the GMs in the NBA. I feel like what the Knicks did with Mikal Bridges made sense, whereas other teams right now offering up, what the Knicks gave up to get Mikal Bridges for a guy like Lauri Markkanen simply doesn't make sense for almost every other team in the NBA. The reason that the Knicks traded as much as they did for Mikal Bridges is because they are a hell of a lot closer to getting an NBA championship than the Brooklyn Nets were, okay? And with the playoff run that the Knicks had without, Julius Randle and half their fucking team, you look at that and go, okay, well, we have Brunson. They brought back OG Anunoby. They still have Dante DiVincenzo, who is very good. Yes, they lost Isaiah Hartenstein, but now, adding Mikal Bridges, who went to college with Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, that made sense. They have played together before. You get even better on defense. You get another one of the best two-way defensive players in the league. If Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are like the gold standard for two-way players, then OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges are like the silver standard for two-way players in the NBA, and the Knicks now have both of them. So it made sense for the Knicks to give up what they did to get Mikal Bridges. Yeah, down the road it'll probably bite them in the ass at some point, but it's just the idea, like, they're in win-now position. The only team really that is, like, I think a super major threat to them is probably Boston, at least within their own conference. So it makes sense, but, for other teams to offer a package, a Mikal Bridges level package for Lauri Markkanen, simply doesn't make sense. So that's it for me, guys. I don't want to go on too much longer here about this. Good for Lauri Markkanen. He got paid, but there's a handful of guys this offseason that got paid an ass ton of money that I simply just don't think they're worth, at least not at the current point in time. Guys like Evan Mobley, guys like Franz Wagner, and now Lauri Markkanen. I have my different reasons for believing why these guys are not worth what they've been getting paid, simply because Franz Wagner fucking sucks at shooting threes. The Orlando Magic better hope this dude does some serious work on that three-point shot, and I'm sure he will, but with the amount of money they paid him, I'm like, yeah, you better. And then Evan Mobley is a guy, he's all right. I don't know if I would have paid him as much as the Cavs did, but I understand why they did it. And then same thing with Lauri Markkanen. It's like, Lauri Markkanen's not, I don't think he's worth this contract at all. As long as he plays with the Jazz, yeah, he's worth it. But if he gets traded to another team, he's not worth $40 million a year. He's just not going to give you that type of production on another team. And it's just the idea, this is the direction the league is going in. But I don't know, man. I could be wrong. I'm seeing the Jaylen Brown contract worked out, and I didn't think he was worth $300 million, but they just won an NBA championship, and he won Finals MVP. So I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, you know what? Tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more. I'm the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.